welcome back to the channel. It's Wendy and today we're going to have a look at some of the Colorya items that Colorya have very kindly sent me. So a nice lady from Colorya did message me on Instagram and say would I like to have a look at the Zodiac book and do a review of it. So I said yes please, yes I'd really like to, particularly after I'd had a look online at what the book was about actually, but we'll come to that a little bit later. And then when the box came, I opened it and it was these lovely items, and I was a bit confused and said to the lady, your book's turned up and it looks remarkably like a set of pencils. Do I need to send these back? And I think she was a bit confused as well because she'd ordered me the book, I think, not the pencils. But then they've sent me the book as well, so I've kind of done quite well really out of it. Can't complain at all. I'm very pleased with them. And I know you're probably thinking, oh yeah, another person that's been sent some stuff, she's just going to say they're amazing, regardless of what they're actually like. But actually, as you may have noticed from my videos before, I do actually already myself own 2 of their books already that I bought and paid for myself. So the blue one I think was the first one that was available in the UK here, and I bought that fairly early on and I've done some work in that one, and then I followed them up really because I liked the first one with the second one. Now obviously both of these are mandala books, and the one I'm going to show you today is quite different from both of these in that they are for this particular brand, for Colorya, I think they are a little bit of a diversion really from how their books normally look. But I do like their books. I like the paper in them. The paper is really super thick, so it helps if I have it the right way up. So it really is a good kind of, as I'm sure other people have said when they've looked at their books, it's a really good, thick, heavy cardstock that really will take paint. I've done a little bit of watercolour paint in mine in particular quite often, and they'll take those kind of things quite nicely. So particularly with this one, let's find a page that I've actually done some work on. So for example, this page in my first blue mandala book, I've done with Paul Rubens metallics. So they're the first palette of metallics that I'd ever got really, and that was one of the reasons I bought these books, because I'd heard they were card based and I wanted to do some metallic paint. As you know, I do like metallic paint, so I really fancied having a go with them. And it's, as you can see, this page is beautifully flat. It's got an acrylic background behind it. It's not really gone through. It's a little bit dirty because I am a messy painter. I've got some bits that have come through, but it's taken the paint really beautifully, and that is one of the things I love about this book. It's not damaged the rest of the book because of the thickness of it. It really does work really quite nicely. There's a couple more that I've done in here as well. This one was Derwent Metallics, so it's all metallic pencils, background and the pieces. And again, it's taken it really nicely. So I've really enjoyed, I don't think I've done a huge amount more in this. I've started on a little one with the pencils actually. So there's some watercolour paint in the middle, and then I was just having a go with the pencils that they've sent me last night as well on the edge, and they're working really nicely, unsurprisingly, on their paper. But yeah, I quite like their books. They're good weighty books. There's quite a mix of designs in the 2 that I'd already bought myself, of which I was really happy with. And there are some interesting, helps if it's the right way up, doesn't it? It's difficult because they're tall. But yeah, this one I think was alcohol pens, so I think it's some pro markers and a little bit of coloured pencil in some of the flowers that I've worked through. And it does go through a little bit, but as you can see, not all the way, which for marker is tricky at the best of times. And again, I think this is a mix. I think it's some alcohol pens, some gel pens. I think I've used a bit of Karen watercolour pens as well on this one. So they'll take quite a range of media really. I think this was in my pages not so long ago, so I'm sure you can look that one up if you want to. Oh yeah, another one that again is mainly coloured pencil, gel pens. I think there is a little bit of watercolour on that one as well. But this is why I quite like their books, that if you're wanting a book that's quite adaptable in terms of the paper, you can kind of chuck quite a bit of media at it. They're single-sided, so there's quite a bit of value in them, and I think for the price, for a really cracking book to have a go at. So hence why I was delighted when they got in touch, really, because I do, like I say, I've spent my own money on their books in the past. I knew as soon as they messaged me what the quality was like. But this one I think is slightly different. Obviously my other two are very mandala heavy. This one, obviously, beautiful theme of Zodiac. Really nice front cover on it. It's got really nice print on it. Just a really interesting book straight away. Has a nice little quote on the back as well that I thought was really beautiful. And the images are obviously Zodiac based. Now I'm not really great at looking up Zodiac things, so I have actually looked up what each of the symbols were, so I'm not telling you lies, hopefully. Front page on these books are generally all the same. So you have a little introduction quote by the company that's really nice. They're a French creative company, and there's also a little barcode, little QR code that you can scan. I think you can even scan it from here, probably, if I keep it still, because they have a Facebook group. So you can join Colorya's Facebook group. There's all kinds of things on there, really. They do competitions on there, so you can win books, you can win other things that they obviously sell. You can share your own images that you've coloured in on there. I've shared quite a few, particularly from the other two books. Earlier on I've shared quite a few from there. And it's quite a nice little community on there. It's all very friendly. And obviously people discussing what they've used and how it's worked and those kind of things. So it's quite a nice little group to join if you're on Facebook and you want to get into more friendly based groups, obviously based on their products and their books is the emphasis of it. But it's a nice little group. I'll add the link for the Facebook group in the description below later when I put them all together. And then it obviously starts to go into the theme. So you've got a few pages at the front that are very much kind of overall lots of the star signs. So obviously you've got all of them in a little small symbol. And I kind of thought these would be nice if you were, right, I fancy doing a little bit of colouring, but I don't want to do a full page today. So today I'll do Pisces, Aquarius. See, I'm no good. I get them mixed up straight away. Scorpion. Yeah. That's not my favourite page, the scorpion bit. But these were really lovely, cute little symbols that I thought they'd be a nice starter point to have a go. And then you've got exactly the same as the front cover that you can have a go at that's on the front that I just showed you before. And then you've got about 3 or 4 pages at the front, if I can get hold of them, that kind of have a few of the symbols just as a warm-up, really, which again I thought was quite nice. They've all got these kind of really lovely little frames on them that kind of feels like a bit Art Nouveau, Art Deco flavour to the way that they're arranged. But you've got a few of these pages that have a few of the symbols together with some of these decorative kind of building sections in the back, and then it gets into the actual symbols themselves. And obviously this kind of thing is obviously a massive jump from the mandala books that I already have, and I think these are really beautiful. So you've got Aries, the ram, you've got obviously a beautiful lady to work on. I do love doing clothes, so this was right up my street. I seem to have got glitter all over it somehow, goodness knows how. But you've got obviously a little symbol to give you a hint if you're not sure who's who, and you get 2 of the star signs, 2 different prints for each star sign. So you've got obviously this one, and then you've got the more obvious ram for Aries to carry on. But again, really beautiful little borders that change in size as it goes round, and I just really like the difference between the background and the way that they're framed. I thought was really interesting. Then on to Taurus. Again, we've got this really lovely girl to go through that I thought, again, really lovely. And I really like the fact that they're all framed and it's really filled the background. It almost gave it kind of like a playing card feel to me, some of these. But it's meant that you could really just concentrate on the piece without having to worry about, oh, what am I going to put in the background? What am I going to do in that bit? You've got a kind of a little bit of the decorative flowers in the background, and then a main focus, and then another main frame, and a bit of symbolism here and there. I think this is the same as on the name page at the front, this little poppy repeat that's on there. Then we've got Gemini. Again, this is another one that I really like. I'm thinking that might be one of the first ones I have a go to do out of this book. I just think it's really lovely. And then another pair for the Gemini set. Again, really beautiful image, obviously symmetrical, but even the way that the flowers and the leaves are popped in around the sides I thought was really attractive. Cancer, I'm not a great crab lugger, but I do really quite like his little nippers. I think they're really nicely how they've drawn, and it goes really, again, nicely down into this kind of seaweedy type shapes around the frame, and little leaves and things around it. I thought was really nice. Another one for Cancer, this lovely lady with a crab in her hand. Not sure I fancy holding him with his pinchers in my hand, but again, really lovely decorative elements around, and I quite like these little shell motifs that are going around as well. Thought that was really interesting. Leo, with these little suns around the edges, and obviously the little sign for it as well, and another figurative representation of it. And again, I quite like these. They almost remind me of, are they bleeding hearts, the little plants that have that flower head shape at this time of year, but again, really nice. This one, I was, oh, what is this symbol for age? I had to look this one up, I've got to be honest. At Virgo, eventually, I'm sure some of you are shouting at the screen, it's obviously Virgo. I'm sorry, I'm not very good at it, but I do really like this image. I think, again, really beautiful image. Love some of the background work. Again, it's probably one of those images, right, you could say, okay, I'm going to work on these little bits in the background today, or I'm going to do all the figure today and leave the background. It's kind of got stages because they're each in different little sections that I think make it really easy to work through. Another one for Virgo, a bit more complicated one, this one particularly, but again, really beautiful. Libra, scales. Again, really lovely, and a lady to go with the Libra page as well. Really, I really like the costume bits where it kind of, the skirt kind of falls into some of this pattern that goes around the frame that I thought, again, really attractive. And again, we've got these kind of shell motifs behind it, which I think are really attractive. This is the only 2 pages I'm not loving. Sorry, Scorpios. My husband's Scorpio, he was earlier when I said, oh, I like all of them except this page. He was like, oh, typical, the page that's me you don't like. But, you know, I think the background's beautiful, but I'm not loving the big scorpion. I know some of you will. And then you've got another lady with the scorpion on her head, again, in really nice kind of classical frames. And then we've got Sagittarius, and more of an action shot for Sagittarius. I think I prefer this one out of the 2 of them. But again, really lovely drawing. Capricorn. What a complicated creature for Capricorn. I might have to do a bit of research about this particular image, because I was like, oh, what a mix. He's got goat's head, wings and a tail. Obviously some kind of fish goat joining. I'm not sure. I think I prefer this arrangement, this beautiful drawing. Again, this is another one that I was like, might start there, because this is a beautiful image. Really like it. And then Aquarius, little water carrier section, and another really nice image, quite complicated background but beautiful frame. And then Pisces, this one I like as well, but it's very unusual. I mean, that's it, yes, that's the last one. But yeah, quite an unusual book for them, something a little bit different. Feels obviously quite different to the 2 that I've had for quite a while, that I've bought a while ago, but you've still got all the qualities of the book. It's, you know, got a really easy ring bind, really gets the other sheets out of the way. I tend to fold it back on itself, so you've got literally nothing but the drawing you're working on, which I am a messy worker. I have things all over the desk quite often, so the fact that these kind of fold back on themselves, I've really like, and I think the drawings in this book I think are really beautiful. The other section that they've sent me is obviously these lovely pencils. So This was obviously a very nice surprise for me. So it's in quite a hard case. Has this lovely little strap at the top that you can grab hold of quite easily. It's quite a hard case, so it's not one of the softer ones. I think if you have the is it the Castle Arts one, that it's literally just fabric, it's not like that at all. It has got quite a hard, firm base, and as you can see, it holds its shape quite nicely when it's in. We get them. I was really pleased with these, and it's so nice to open them. As you can see, they're just really beautiful looking pencils. Colours in them are really nice, and I don't actually own any 72 sets. I tend to have either bought 12s or 24s as things to try, or I've gone full sets, all or nothing. So I haven't actually got a small set like this, and I was thinking as I opened it, actually this would be a great travel set. You know, just chuck in your bag, take it wherever you want to. It's even the divider has actually got quite a firm board in it, so they are really quite protected in this case. And I've not used these apart from swatching, and I haven't sharpened any of them. This is how they've come, and obviously Amazon delivery, you know yourselves how much things get chucked about. They've been in this case, as you can see yourselves, that the pencil tips are all perfect. I've sharpened none of these, not at all. They're all in beautiful nick. They've arrived, can't really see that one, can you? But there you go. They've arrived perfectly. So there was only a little bit of paper in the box with them, nothing else. Other than that, they were obviously in the little cardboard sleeve. And this case that they've come in has protected them. So I think that's, the pencils are really, really lovely looking pencils. We'll come to them in a minute. But I think the case itself, I was really impressed with. It just feels like it's made beautifully, and it really will look after them. So they are calling these Imaginor colour pencils. They are they're saying 72 unique and vivid colours, wax base, 3mm leads, soft core, smooth even coverage, premium blending and shading, rich intense pigments is how they're describing them. And I have, as you can imagine, done a swatch, but I'll just show you around what the actual pencils look like. So they've obviously really been thinking about how a colourist uses a pencil instead of maybe how an artist uses a pencil. So obviously they've got the little Colorya brand on it. You've got the name of this particular set, Imaginor, and then you've got a little symbol on it, but each pencil has its own name printed on it, and it is pretty large writing, much larger than any brand that I think I own, really. I obviously use a lot of luminance, which, let's be honest, on this score they're a fail, because I spend my entire time going, I can't read that, can't read the number, can't read the writing. So yay for proper labelling, thank you so much. So yeah, bold red in this case, and as you can see, even though it's shining against my lights, you've got 633, easy to read on there. And then you also have this really beautiful, it helps if I don't have my hands in the way, obviously my lights aren't helping particularly in this circumstance, but you have this really pretty kind of mandala pattern running around the top of the pencil as well. They aren't the thickest of pencils, I think that I would say. They feel thicker in your hand than a Prisma or something like that, but maybe not quite as thick as my luminance, that if I put them next to each other, I think they are just a little bit thinner than those. But I think they're a good weight in your hand, they feel comfortable, they've got quite a nice nib on them, and I think they're a really attractive pencil. It's easy to find the ones that you want, either by colour or by name. Colour wise, obviously I have done a swatch for you, and I'm quite impressed with the colour palette that's in here. I think colour is quite a personal thing, isn't it? I I do like bright colours. I like having some natural colours to do something more naturalistic, but I do like a bit of colour. There are a few sets I find that pinks are quite missing, purples are quite missing. I use a lot of pinks and purples all the time. They are my most go-to colours, I think. So this set really, I feel, has got a little bit of everything in, really. It's got some nice yellows, maybe a couple of oranges, because you've kind of got, I don't think the colour of these is looking quite correct looking at on my camera feed, but you've got a really bright orange, and then you've got a more yellowy orange in here, and it looks a little bit darker on the light than it does on the camera than it does in real life. Then you've got two kind of beigey tones that again would be really quite useful for skin in this area. You've got obviously all this massive section of pinks going from quite pale to quite deep, quite a really good selection of reds, and quite a wide range of greens, really, from kind of very limey going more into kind of leaf green, grass green, and then into kind of pine, and almost you've got this one which they're calling ancient silver, which is almost like a grey green, and sometimes that can be a really useful tone, and then into turquoises, into blues, nice purples. You've got a few browns to work with as well, and obviously a good selection of greys. You've got a more kind of beige grey, and then the others feel a little bit more of a clean, cool grey. So you've got a little bit of everything, I think, and it's kind of, for a smaller set, I think it gives you quite a wide range of colour palette that kind of would allow you to do most types of colouring, I feel, really. I think the only thing I would have said if I was advising them, why would they ask me, but on a more budget set, a white pencil, realistically I'd rather have had another colour. Generally I'm sure this white's good, but I doubt it's probably as opaque as a more expensive white. So I think personally I'd have had another colour rather than white. I have shaded it on my sheet, but that would be the only thing that I would say out of this set if I was looking at it objectively, that I think I'd probably have liked maybe another orange instead of a white, just because I know realistically I'll probably still go for a more of an artist brand white, whether it be Dermot or Luminance or something along those lines that I know has got a really strong opaque whiteness to it, and I can lighten then any of these colours. And I think most colourists probably do that. We all have our favourites, whether it be Prisma, but whichever of it, the whites you normally use, you'll know yourselves. But yeah, I was really impressed with this set, and I think it's for the money. I think this is currently on UK Amazon at £21. So I think for a budget set that comes so beautifully presented in a really great case that really does protect it, so beautifully made. I mean, it is a nice case. I think it's one of those cases, even when the pencils are long gone, I'll still keep the case, because as you know, a lot of the cases now are, the wider elastics where you've got 3 pencils in one. You can work with it. Some of my other cases are like that, but it is much better in terms of keeping it together and getting the pencil out and putting the pencil back when you've got a case that's just got single ones, isn't it? There's not as many of them out there. So yeah, I was really impressed with these when they came. In terms of feel for how they are on the paper, they are I'm going to annoy myself and work on the back of the swatch sheet now. They are describing these as a soft wax pencil, and before I read it and I played about with it a little bit, I'd kind of thought, no, I'm not sure whether they're an oil or a wax, or maybe a mix of both. They're kind of at that tricky somewhere halfway between is how I would describe it, really. It's not as soft as a Prisma, for example, but you do seem to be able to layer them quite nicely and quite successfully. So although they're describing them very much on their packaging as soft and waxy, they don't behave completely like a waxy pencil. As you can see, let's have a blue or something like that over the top. You can layer them quite successfully, which makes me think maybe they've got a little bit of oil in, that they allow that kind of waxiness not to build up. Because I haven't noticed when I was doing the swatches or like in little things when I've been working like this, I haven't noticed them getting to the point where, well, I'm sure you know yourselves, if you've had your Prismas, you get to the point where, right, okay, it's not gonna work over that anymore because there's just so much wax on there, it's gonna stop. But as you can see, I can kind of feel like I can keep layering this quite successfully, even where there's quite a bit of colour already. I can keep working over it, and it still feels like there's still movement. You can still build on that. It doesn't feel like you're getting any wax build up or getting to the point where I couldn't work on it. This paper that I do my swatches on, if I put the book away, is a cheap watercolour paper. So I always use this for my swatches. It's Faber-Castell watercolour pad. It's only 140 GSM, so it's not a thick paper. It just is handy because I know if I wanted to add water, it will take a little bit of water quite successfully, this paper. And as you can see probably from my swatches, it does have a little bit of texture in, but again, I quite like that because you really get the feel for how the pencils behave on the paper when you've got a little bit of texture on. I think they behave better on the actual books, and clearly, obviously, they've designed it so that you can work very nicely in the little books quite successfully. Obviously, their paper is pretty smooth, really, in their books, especially compared to this little swatch paper that I've just been looking at. So they really do go on quite nicely onto their paper. Let's see if I can get you a little bit closer and still be able to actually see myself. So they do go on quite nicely onto their paper because it's smooth. Again, because of a waxy pencil, I did wonder whether it would get to the point where it would suddenly start to go, nope, you can't have any more on. But actually, I think it works really quite nicely on top. Let's have a pink to go with my red. But yeah, they, like I say, they will layer quite nicely on top of each other. They behave very well on this smooth paper. I did try, I can't remember if it was in this book or the other one. I did get the Posca pencils, I think. Was it this book? I think it might be the other one. Helpful. Should have perhaps thought about that before. I did get the Posca pencils, and they are quite a waxy pencil, and I really struggled on this paper. Again, I don't know if you can see, but it kind of, the wax very soon built up on this and kind of left me with this horrible texture. So yeah, I was really pleased to see that these pencils on this paper weren't doing that at all. You really can keep layering it and it still behaves really nicely. You don't have to layer it. It was perfectly fine. Just one coat of that on my little dragonfly there by itself. But yeah, I enjoy the sensation of them on this paper. It does feel nice and smooth. Perhaps if you're getting a bit of sore arm from your colouring, I think this combination on these papers will work really nicely. But they were also still working quite nicely on my textured watercolour paper. So yeah, I'm really quite pleased. Oh, she says knocking them off the desk. Yeah, they will do that. They will knock off the desk because they're round. Obviously, I've only just started. They only came the other night, so I've not done a huge amount with them yet. I'll probably try and do one of the ladies out of the my mind has escaped me, the Zodiac book. But yeah, I'm really, so far, really pleased with it. So I thought I'd give you a bit of an introductory look at my two items that I was lucky enough to receive. So very big thanks to the company. I'm really chuffed with them. I am really chuffed with them. Makes a nice change to get a bit of happy mail. I don't really get happy mail. I don't put those kind of things on my channel normally, but Because this is a brand I already knew very well, used myself already, I was more than happy to have a look at the new book and have a go at doing something a bit more substantial in them. Yeah, I'm really pleased with the book in particular. I think the images in it are really interesting. It's kind of book that if I'd have realised they did it, I probably would have bought it myself, because it's a really nice looking book. And the pencils, yeah, still obviously not had them long enough to say much more about them, but these are, I suppose, are my initial thoughts on where I am with them at the moment. Yeah, I'm really quite pleased with them. I think they're a well made, lovely looking pencil. Obviously got capped ends, nice and sealed. Mine have arrived beautifully. Haven't had to sharpen them yet. As you can see, they're working really fine. They've sharpened them properly, not like some of the brands that arrive. As you know, they've normally got kind of a square top on them, haven't they? A lot of brands when you get them, but these are all sharpened, ready to go. No messing about with them at all. So you will no doubt see a bit more from the Zodiac book when I've actually done some. If I get time this weekend, I might try and do one for my February finished pages, and I'll try and use the pencils with them so you can see how they're coming together in a finished piece, just to give you a better idea of what they look like. Obviously I'm going to put all the links for both items. I think the book is about £13 UK pounds, and like I say, the pencils I think were about 21 when I looked at the links, but I'll put them all in the description so you can have a look and see what you think. But I thought they were a really good two little really nice sets, depending on what you're interested in and what kind of pencils suit you. Anyway, be really interested to see what you thought. Have you got any Colorya books yourself? Have you got any favourites? Be interested to see what other books people have got and whether they think which ones might interest me, because I have a few colouring books, as you've probably noticed already. I do like adding to my collection. And have you got the pencils? What's your thoughts on them? Is it a set that you might be interested in? Be really interested in seeing your thoughts and opinions on these sets. Whatever you're doing, hope you're enjoying your colouring. Bye bye.